It's amazing how many people act like they're in such a hurry. I'm like, yo, you in flip-flops. There's no way you could be in a hurry.
In flip-flops.
What's up, guys? Real quick question. We have our YouTube channel. We're just asking people on the Las Vegas Strip, do you support Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
I don't talk politics.
It's all good, brother. Have fun.
She could run over a child live on TV. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm never going to vote for Trump.
That's gnarly.
Hey guys, real quick question. We have a YouTube channel. We're just asking people on the Las Vegas Strip, do you support Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump? Okay, that's what's up.
But the fact is, even though I think she'll make a good president, she's not a good candidate. If you remember from when she ran before, she tends to get real irritated with stuff she doesn't like.
It's funny. I asked people, do you support Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? And I feel like they already know, but they're looking at me for whatever reason, and they're almost calculating how they should answer the question. What do y'all think?
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today.
She's not real fast on her feet. Maybe she's better now.
I forget how many people are in Las Vegas like we are right now. I mean, you can see the Mirage, which I think they're going to knock this building down, this hotel down, and they're going to create a brand new, amazing resort here. But I forget how many people who are actually here in Las Vegas who are literally from another country. I mean, like, Las Vegas is so freaking popular and famous. Like, I've talked to so many people who don't speak English, but they're cool people, but they're just like, hey, I don't know what you're saying.
Kamala Harris was only placed on the ticket after Joe Biden's senility became way too severe in public for those to camouflage efforts to work any longer. But also the fact that Kamala Harris has a history of flip-flopping on key issues, something that the media often overlooks. Meanwhile, Walz is still notorious for his failure to prevent the largest COVID fraud case in the country. $25 million stolen from funds that were supposed to feed children, not to mention his handling of the Minneapolis riots following George Floyd's death. Now, to compare, the Republican candidate Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance, they've done over 70 interviews and press conferences in the exact same period. J.D. Vance alone has done more than 7 times the combined total of Harris and Walz. Talk about transparency. 70 versus 3? That's a no-brainer. But let's put it this way, guys. I totally get why Harris is avoiding the spotlight. I mean, she oversaw the Biden administration's border disaster, as the borders are, allowing millions upon millions of illegal migrants into the country. At least according to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, has contributed to rising unemployment.
Damn, someone's about to wreck their car. What's up, guys? Real quick question for you. We're just asking people on the Las Vegas Strip, do you support Trump or Kamala Harris?
I'm not an American citizen.
Ah, all good, man. Another non-American citizen. All good. You can still vote according to Kamala.
Any Kamala Harris supporters out there that agree with this guy? Now, I'm really not sure if this is satire, but his first statement, it was wild. And how can somebody be a good president but not a good candidate? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And I think CNN is waking up to the reality that Kamala Harris might not be the best person for the job. Or at least Jake Tapper is driving it right down the middle as he blasted ABC News for their extremely biased moderation of the debate. Even Donald Trump admitted that the CNN debate was much better and that both candidates were at least given time to speak without being fact-checked every single time. Here's what Jake Tapper had to say about all of this.
Vice President Harris began the debate by punting the first question on the economy.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
It went on from there. Despite the economy being the #1 issue facing the country, the sitting vice president generally reverted to talking points about a few of her policy proposals. Even Harris allies today are saying that she needs to talk more about what she will do for Americans if elected. Senator Bernie Sanders will be here in a second to talk about more about the need for her to fill in some of those blanks. On the border, another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question.
Wow, he is now firing shots at ABC with this. Because we know that the moderators in the debate just kind of kept pushing back on Donald Trump, even though his answers were directly related to the questions. The only problem was that they wanted to blame him for any issues that were being discussed. And what he said was true. Instead of answering questions, Kamala Harris was instead going back to talking points that she had memorized beforehand. And so guys, this is what we're dealing with right now. And I think it becomes very simple when you put it this way. If you're gonna vote with your wallet in mind. It's as simple as that. Much simpler than asking the vice president what she plans on doing for the economy. There's a reason as to why they hid Kamala Harris for more than a month after being handpicked by her party. There's a logic to this, guys. Kamala Harris is not fit for speaking engagements where she doesn't have a script. You can cite the debate all you want, but we know for certain that she was prepared for that ABC debate. We can say that because all of her answers from then are still being repeated today, much like what she and Tim Walz continue to tout about their plan for the economy. They keep circling back to their middle class life when that doesn't even answer the question at all. Don't take my word for it, just watch this.
So I was raised as a middle class kid.
I grew up a middle class kid. I grew up a middle class kid.
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people.
You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams. The ambition, the aspiration, the dream.
I started my career as a prosecutor.
I was a career prosecutor for most of my career. Having a background as a prosecutor.
I intend to create an opportunity economy.
Developing and creating an opportunity economy. What I imagine and believe and call an opportunity economy.
I used to feel like I was just spinning my wheels, constantly working, but not getting ahead. You ever feel that feeling? You know what that feels like, right? I mean, I would look around and I used to wonder, why am I not making the progress that I know I'm capable of? And it wasn't until I found a group of people who had figured it out that I started to see results myself. The Life Pursuit Network is exactly that, a community where financial success is not only possible, but it's the freaking norm. You'll get access to the strategies and the tools that others have used to get ahead. For less than $1 a day, you can join a group that's focused on real growth. Stop struggling on your own and start achieving growth and your goals with us. Hit the link down in the description down below and join us over in the Liberty Pursuit Network today.
During the ABC News presidential debate, David Muir asked her, when it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago? And guess what? Kamala Harris said that she was raised as a middle-class kid and gave a clumsy biographical answer which included zero policy. A few days later, during her only interview since the debate, her response to a question from anchor Brian Taff about her specific plans for the economy, it was better memorized but equally unresponsive. And yes, it was still about growing up as a middle-class kid, that she grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn. Y'all remember that line, right? Because what else would she talk about? Bidenomics? For nearly 4 years, she and Joe Biden have been claiming that Bidenomics would bring down the cost of living, invest in infrastructure, empower families, and make life better for all Americans. Well, here we are, 4 years later, and it just simply hasn't happened. And hey, that's not going to stop her from making the same claims about her mystery plan on the campaign trail. Don't believe me? Just look at the numbers. Rasmussen reports found that only 20% of Americans wanted policies in general to stay the same. Nearly 3 out of 4, or 73%, do want things to change. Only 23% said economic conditions were improving. By contrast, 52% said that things were getting worse. In parallel, Scott Rasmussen, a separate polling outfit, reported that only 26% of Americans thought that the economy was excellent or good. Now, a full 74% rated the economy poor. CNN's own Abby Phillips said Harris's recent interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, the NABJ, lacked specifics, but the panelists that she had on, they were just scrambling to defend the Democratic presidential nominee.
Black journalists today at the NABJ pressed Vice President Kamala Harris on policies from guns to the war in Gaza, but many of her answers lacked specifics, and some Democrats, like Hillary Clinton, told Kara Swisher that that's perfectly fine.
I'm not sure I agreed with her when she said that. It was interesting for her to say it because it was, I think she was talking strategically, politically, is that she doesn't have to say too much. I think probably most people agree they should say more because, as Audie Cornish of this network said, a lot of people are Kamala curious. And if you look at the statistics, I think Kirsten talked about them last night, Kristen did, that people want to know more from Kamala Harris.
This is at the heart of what voters want to know about her. She should have something that is really quick and understandable. And that wasn't really it.
She has to do 3 things. I agree. Actually, there's one other thing. Answer the question. She got the same question at the debate. And you know what else? When I went back and watched the debate again, every single policy question she got at the debate, she totally ignored and never answered it. Why is it that she believes she does not have to answer to journalists who are asking pretty basic questions of
So guys, what do you want for dinner? So I was raised as a middle-class kid, you know what I mean? Kamala Harris spent months writing one speech, and it's not even a very good one. Something your English teacher would probably have given her a D+ on as an assignment. Do you guys know the feeling? But hey, that's not gonna stop Democrats and their mainstream media allies, will it, right?
She did have a lot of momentum coming out of the convention, even coming out of her announcement as the presumptive nominee. I do think a lot of that already has stalled, and it's stalled principally around issues of policy. Kamala Harris has been completely opaque about what her policy positions actually are. She stands in favor of a tax on unrealized capital gains. She hasn't explained exactly how that would function. Why has she changed her position on healthcare, on Medicare for all, on other areas like bans on fracking? So I hope tonight gives Americans and voters what they deserve, which is a clear picture of both candidates, where they stand on policy.
Trump or Kamala? Kamal. Why so? Well, I say Kamal because she's been the greatest president of the 21st century. The First Step Jobs Act. In 2018, she lowered taxes for every single tax bracket. She's been tough on crime, tough on the border. I mean, Remain in Mexico policy, Title 42. She secured the southern border. We had the lowest level of illegal immigration ever seen in this country
isn't that
before.
Trump?
Oh, wait, what did you say?
Wasn't that Trump?
Oh, wait, did I say Kamal?
You did say Kamala.
I meant to say Trump.
And that's what things are boiling down to, guys. Is the person you're voting for going to make your lives any easier? Now, the biggest difference is that Donald Trump has proven his worth in the White House. Now, on the other hand, Kamala Harris has been more of an afterthought throughout President Joe Biden's term. Matter of fact, a lot of people surveyed didn't even know who she was until about 2 months ago. She's only coming into the limelight because the commander-in-chief has trouble putting together a single sentence. With the election just a few weeks away, her campaign has been tasked to put up a front that would eclipse the achievements of Donald Trump during his term. And of course, they can't do it with facts since the numbers are against them. So instead, they focus on feelings and they try to invoke the emotions of voters across the country. And that's not working for a lot of undecided voters.
If you look at reporting from Reuters and the New York Times, they actually asked a number of undecided voters in key states, how did you view the candidates going in? How did you view them going out? Reuters, in fact, had 60%, I think it was 6 out of 10 voters who said they moved towards Trump afterwards. And when they were asked why, they said, because Kamala Harris was evasive on her answers around the economy. And I think she flubbed a really key opportunity she had in that very first question when she was asked, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And she didn't show a single really ability to connect with voters who are struggling right now in this economy and with the price of goods and groceries and gas. And she missed a real key moment there. So
he spoke facts. She just basically repeated everything that Biden has said in the past.
What were your thoughts? She made, Donald Trump made a strong closing statement by saying, why didn't they do all the things that she's proposing during the 3.5 years that they've been in office? And Biden did this entire moderate stance back in 2020, and she's trying to do it again in 2024, but she didn't talk about her policy changes between 2020 and 2024. Her whole centrist, moderate stance is just a facade.
I think he just has more of a plan than Kamala Harris. I think he is a little more knowledgeable about the issues and policy.
I'm not saying that Trump is 100% perfect, but I think he's our best chance to get this country back on track, to have some decency, some morals, and some discipline.
And guys, I know that was a handful, but I want you to realize the common denominator here. What do these voters all have in common? Serious question. Let me know in the comments down below. What do y'all think? Well, guys, they all agree that Donald Trump is battle tested. Here's the guy you go to if you want this economy fixed, if you want the border to be resecured. They want him in that position because he has a proven track record that as president, he can produce results for the American people. Every Trump supporter and many independents saw the blatant bias of ABC's moderators, who appeared less like neutral hosts and more like active debaters helping Harris take on President Trump. Needless to say, guys, viewers are outraged. I've even heard some people outright condemn both ABC and Vice President Harris, just to prove that Jake Tapper is spot on here. Remember what she said about the economy and how she suddenly discussed growing up in the middle class? Well, here's a different interview with the exact same answer.
At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy. I wonder if we could drill down on that a little bit. When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, you know, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, you know, but a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn, you know? And I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity. And that we as Americans have a beautiful character. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business. My mother, you know, worked long hours, and our neighbor helped raise us. We used to call her, I still call her, our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small business owners.
Madam Vice President, that was not the question. And if we played a drinking game where people took shots every time she said, you know, we'd all be passed out within the first minute of her answer. This is Kamala using talking points, but at the same time trying to appear as if she's talking off the cuff. Now, I want you guys to realize that ABC set up this interview, and they're probably just as surprised as the rest of us that Kamala Harris continues to use the exact same answer when asked about the economy. You know, I grew up as a middle class, you know, the spiel. She's pushing for the narrative that Donald Trump doesn't have a plan. She said it multiple times in the debate. And this is a classic, if not best example of gaslighting, because it is crystal clear and obvious that she's the one that doesn't have a plan because she can't even explain her plan for the economy. Now, just imagine her getting interviewed by multiple reporters and even fielding questions from everyday Americans. It's not going to be a pretty sight, but it's something that Donald Trump does regularly. Now, some within mainstream media are obviously biased against the former president. However, it doesn't end there. They're also openly saying that anyone who supports Donald Trump is just as bad as he is.
Also to do things, Ellie, that one would think are career-ending. The way he desecrated Arlington National Cemetery would be career-ending for a normal politician. His constant lies. But even this piece about saying, well, my building was the tallest until, you know, they brought down the World Trade Center. Now it's the second tallest. I mean, everything he does is despicable.
The reason why it doesn't end his career is because his supporters are just as despicable. All right. Like Trump's whole thing, he's a narcissist, right? And so his whole thing is to have a complete lack of compassion and empathy for everybody else. It's all about him. That's why he lies about 9/11. It's all about him, me. He's probably the least compassionate president we've had in 200 years since Andrew Jackson. And it works for him because his supporters are just as ungenerous and have just as little compassion and empathy for others. So when he is seen out there, essentially, as you guys have put it, desecrating our national symbols, when he is seen out there putting himself above all else, his supporters also want that to be the case. They want to do that in their own lives. That's how they think of themselves. And that's why it never hurts Trump when he takes these crass and classless actions. It's because his supporters think that being crass and classless is actually kind of cool.
Now, I'm not sure what Don King is doing here, but these are the same outlets that lie about Trump 24/7, which could explain why Jake Tapper is digging into this entire mess. And it's not just him. CNN as a whole has tried to keep things as centric as possible. Of course, there's exceptions, but they've pushed against one of the biggest lies of Kamala Harris. It's a lie that the Democratic Party and ABC News just keep pushing out to the people. They have argued that the former president is directly connected to Project 2025, even though Donald Trump has repeatedly, time and time again, denied knowing anything about it and says that the things that he has read are very extreme.
Listen to this claim from Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware about Project 2025 and former President Trump.
He has, with his friends, said the quiet parts out loud, but not only said them out loud, he wrote a book about it. What's it called? Project 2025.
That is false. Trump did not write Project 2025. The project's big policy document published by the Heritage Foundation think tank lists dozens of people as authors, editors, contributors. Donald Trump is not among them.
Now, guys, I'm not saying that CNN is now leaning more to the right. That's not what I'm saying. But they are providing information that's backed up by facts every now and then. Something that ABC News should also look into, since they're so-called journalists. Their job is to make sure that we're informed. It shouldn't matter if it happens to help one candidate or the other, as long as it's the actual truth.